What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another panel show, and today we have got the Change for Tottenham boys in the house. We got Jay, we got Guards. Starting off with you, Jay. Welcome back to the channel. How
Thank
you
you,
doing,
mate.
mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Tired, busy working, got tonsillitis, so yeah, getting there, slugging through slowly and steadily.
Must have been all that time you're spending in the coach and horses before the Bodo game, I would think.
Mate, honestly, it's got to have been. It's got to have been. But thanks for having me back, boys.
I don't think anyone came back from that game with a voice, man. The atmosphere was absolutely electric for most of it. Guards, first time on the channel. Good to have you, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. Much appreciated. Looking forward to being on your show. And yeah, like I say, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's been, first and foremost, I want to say what great work that Change for Tottenham have been doing over the course of the season. And we'll get into the plans and stuff for Crystal Palace a bit later on. But we've got a small matter of a Europa League semi-final second leg to discuss. 3-1 up from the first leg. Jay, I mean, how much was that goal towards the end? I mean, for me, it was a massive killer blow because you saw the atmosphere in that stadium, you know, and then everyone was just kind of like filtering out like we hadn't even won at the end of that game, wasn't it?
Yeah, and obviously it's an amazing result to go into a second leg away. I always said we needed a 3-goal lead, but then it's that goal, and it's if we turn up and we have a bad or slow start, I just feel it could put a lot of pressure on the boys. So I'm just hoping we do, as you said in the green room just before, we do what we did in Frankfurt. We go out there, we play the game we need to play. And obviously the team news that we've lost Maddison, I think that's a big blow for the rest of the season, not even just that one game. I feel like he's a player that's picking up form, and Kulusevski seems to have struggled as of late. So I'm just hoping we come out the traps early. If we get an early goal, then I think we're clean sailing. If we concede, I'll be hiding behind the sofa.
Guards, we can't have nice things here at Tottenham because, you know, you think just as we get a clean bill of health, bang, Bergvall out, Maddison out, just at the time where we need them the most going into this second leg. And then you look at, you know, the other semi-final with Manchester United. They're getting Amad Diallo back. They're starting to hit, getting a few results at the moment. How much of a blow is that Maddison injury for you?
Yeah, do you know what? Again, it's the way as a Spurs fan, isn't it? The stress it causes you, because I think like you just mentioned to Jay about that goal that Bodo scored. Obviously, I was at the game. The atmosphere was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We could definitely not knock any of the fans that turned up and come in full voice, but I was deflated at 3-1. I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, look, you've won 3-1 in the semi-final." Yeah, I get that completely, but I just think if we'd have gone there with a 3-0 result, I just think we're basically there. That goal has just changed everything, the whole complexity and of the game at their place. And then to add to that, the injuries, to have Maddison and Bergvall both missing is huge, because I think we talk about Frankfurt and the job we did there. They were instrumental in that game, especially Bergvall. I felt like he got up the pitch so well. He was around, you know, in and around it, and he calmed everybody down at such a young age. And I think again, Maddison, he was, he was dictating. He was picking the ball up in areas where a lot of players wouldn't feel comfortable. And I think with them two missing, it is huge. I don't know how we really replace that. I know people have been mentioning Basuma and Bentancur. I'm not sure if we need legs with Sarr in there. Kulusevski's not really been in the form that he was prior to his injury. It's a worry. Well, again, like a great, 3-1, would we have taken it before kickoff? Probably would have, with the form we've been in. But I think being 3-0 up and in control, that goal was really, really knocked a bit of confidence. Certainly out myself. I know other fans might think differently, but and especially with those injuries to add to it, so it's a real worry. It's a concern.
I was listening to Ange after the game, and he said he was talking about this is after the Bodo game, and he was talking about how like in the last leg against Frankfurt, even though they drew the home leg, the way they kind of dominated and were the better team and knowing they should have won, kind of gave them confidence to go into that second leg and play the way they did and go and get the win away from home, even though it's theoretically getting a draw at home then going away is not the result you want, and it's theoretically it's a tough ask to go away from home when you haven't won at home. when you look at that first leg against Bodo, the way we I know we're expecting a tougher time in Bodo, but the way we kind of restricted them for a lot of that game, they had one shot on target, which they unfortunately did score from, but you got to take a bit of confidence that we did completely nullify them for a lot of that game, I think, and maybe that's what the team will be feeling.
I think, again, you're spot on, Sim. You've got to take that confidence away. But I think there's a few things that, again, that's me. This is probably me. I don't want to sound negative because it's just us. It's built in us, right? As Spurs fans, there's always a worry in the back of our minds of what could happen. We're never comfortable. I think obviously they were missing some key players. That's why I think their midfielder, the captain, two midfielders, captain. I think it's centre back and their first choice striker, which I believe 3 are back for Thursday. And obviously now we've lost Bergvall and Maddison for the next leg. The performance was, like you say, against Frankfurt, and then going to Bodo. It's just, I suppose, it's the artificial pitch. We can look at Tamworth again. I know people were saying we put not as strong a side out, but it was just a side definitely more than capable of beating them. We didn't perform. We struggled. And I think people overlook the artificial pitch quite a lot. Ball travels quicker. It bounces differently. I think we've probably, if you played football, you know the difference between artificial and real grass. It's not as straightforward as it seems, just kind of adapting to one to the other. And I think, again, the weather conditions can add to that as well. Small enclosed pitch, kind of similar to maybe like what Bournemouth like a Bournemouth style pitch, but we're on an artificial pitch. I don't know. For me, it's not a foregone conclusion. And I'm just praying we do the job and get through on Thursday night.
It's very similar. Remember back in 2010 when we played Young Boys? Yeah. They had that artificial pitch, and we we were down in the dumps in that first leg. We just about got away with a 3-2. We were 3-0 down in 20 minutes, weren't we?
Two goals back,
we couldn't adjust to that pitch, and we took them back to the lane and batted them 4-0.
Yeah. Was it Crouch or Pavlyuchenko?
Crouch got the hat-trick in the second leg.
That was it, yeah.
But we were 3-0 down, and we were basically heading out of the Champions League. We'd somehow clawed it back to 3-2.
That was the first time back in the Champions League. We're all buzzing, and we're playing Young Boys. Yeah, we're going to smash Young Boys. And then we're 3-0 down in the first leg.
I just remember, after 20 minutes, we were struggling so much to adjust that pitch. I remember, they were just lobbing the ball forward, and the bounce would, stick instead of, go forward to the keeper and things. And when they would play, a through ball, the ball would hold up, and it meant their strikers could run onto it rather than our defenders getting there. And I just hope we don't go through something similar next week. But Andrew said he's not going to train on a plastic pitch.
Decky said that he wants to train on the plastic pitch that they have at Tottenham, and just saying they're not going to do it. But Jay, do you feel like there's a narrative not just within the Spurs fan base, but just universally, saying Spurs are already in the final, Man United are already in the final? Do you reckon, people are just completely underestimating Bodo here with the likes of how good their home form is, and as Gars mentioned, all the players that they're coming back for the second leg as well?
Yeah, 100%. I think their European home record's something like 85% in the last 20 years. Says everything you need to know. Don't get me wrong. We go in there 2-0 up. Theoretically, we've got a 2-goal lead, but we've also seen a Tottenham side before that can shift 7 goals in a game and still look horrendous. So I know it's not really comparing apples with apples if you're saying Bodo, but at the end of the day, any team can be dangerous. I'm hoping these players' attitude is that the main focus is Europa League, because if you look at, for example, the weekends, if you go back the week before, it does seem all teed up that the players are really gunning for it. So I just hope the players don't go out there and think the job's done, because in my opinion, if you're in a European semi-final, regardless of the score, anything can happen. We've seen it when we went to Ajax. We've seen it when Liverpool done it to Barcelona. I'm not saying these teams are the same, but ultimately, Tottenham's not the same Tottenham it was many moons ago. We're still one of these teams that if we are having a bad day, we have bad days. So for me,
many bad days.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just it's one of these things, and people going, "Oh yeah, we're already in the final." The same as I wouldn't necessarily say United are definitely in a final. You're never definitely in the final until the final whistle goes. So I'm just hoping the boys can get it done. We've finally got something to look forward to, and yeah, just the support out there of the 423 fans that are going is heard far and wide.
Yeah,
You only have to look at
to be one of them.
Yeah, 100%. You only have to look at Bodo's last leg against Lazio last game. Exactly the same thing happened.
They
I know.
battered them up.
I know
Absolutely
it
battered
was
them.
the opposite side. They played home first, but literally away from home, very similar. They lost 3-1. It was in extra time. They lost 3-1. It was a very dominant performance from Lazio. And at the home game, Bodo completely took them to the cleaners. And Lazio were lucky it was only 2-0. To be honest, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
So you only have to take that as a cautionary tale. And this, to be honest, this is how Bodo have been getting to how they've gotten to the semi-final is not due to their away form, it's due to their home form. It's basically making sure there's damage limitation away and bringing teams back to their ground and battering them. That's pretty much how they've got here. So I don't think like this wasn't part of the script for Bodo, how it's been so far, in my opinion, if you know what I mean.
The reality is I'm just so frustrated that we didn't put it on beyond all doubt in that first leg, because we played well enough and dominated them more than enough to win 4 or 5-0 in that first leg. And if it is 4 or 5-0, then that's it. It's game, set and match. But looking into this second leg, guys, do you feel like it should be same again, same formation, I know Maddison can't play, but you're swapping him for a Kulusevski. Or would you like to see a formation change up here?
Do you know what? Again, just before I get into that, we were talking about, I've still got nightmares from Kevin Prince Boateng in the semi-final against Portsmouth. And that was the last time fans were talking about the final before we even got there, and that still scars me to this day. So that's why I never count my chickens.
But guys, if we wouldn't have lost that game to Portsmouth, would we have beaten Arsenal and Chelsea in the space of a week after that? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I suppose so. You can put that spin on it as well. Do you know what? It's such a good question there, Ben, because I think in a weird way, I think for Ange, because I know there's a lot of criticism around him, and some of it rightly so. But obviously Europe, he's got a big job, and we're there to support the team. I think he's a bit damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because I think a lot of people, and I think myself, maybe have been looking at the 3-5-2 with Kevin Danzo coming in. If he does that and we get destroyed, he's going to be absolutely, it's going to be toxic, isn't it? And it's going to be, what's he doing? And if he doesn't do it, I think on the other hand, people will be like, why didn't he do that? And so forth. So I think I would stick with the formation we've been playing with, just because it's such a big game. Why would you do it now? Although I can see the pros to three at the back, I can also see the cons with it being something that the players are not potentially used to in such a big game. I think it's the midfield's key, because they've got their two best players back apparently in midfield. Again, I don't know too much about Bodo, but I'm told it's their best players. Now that midfield battle's key. Bentancur's been playing really well lately. I think Basuma's obviously put his name in the hat. And then, do you go with Kulusevski or Sarr? Do you shore it up with Sarr with a bit of legs in there, or do you go with Kulusevski, who can maybe make something happen? It's a difficult one, because before his injury, Kulusevski would be nailed on first name on the sheet. Now there's some concerns around him and how he's been performing. Do you look at Sarr, who can get around the pitch and maybe add those legs and be a bit more sturdy, but also can get forward? That's probably the only one that I would look at potentially. I mean, again, Johnson, he's such a frustrating player, isn't he? Because his stats are unbelievable, but then he's just so ineffective during games at times, and you just want him to do more, go at a man, beat somebody, and just doesn't tend to do it, does he? Just tends to go missing. Like in the first minute, you think, we're on the up, and then he just goes missing for about 70 minutes of it. Do you stick with him?
Results in this game, right? So Brennan Johnson, he puts the ball in the back of the net.
Absolutely. So you say you stick with him, and then do you stick with Solanke probably through the middle? Yes. And then do you go tell Richarlison? I mean, a lot of
people even calling for Mikey Moore after his cameo on the weekend.
Again, for me, Mikey Moore, great prospect. I think we've got to be very careful with him as a 17-year-old to rely on him to go into European semi-final and think he can just go in and do the business. I'd be looking for a bit more experience personally. That's not being taking a pop at Mikey, because he's got a brilliant future with us. I would just be very cautious of sticking him in that type of game. I mean, again, the one
Yamal didn't do badly in the semi-final.
Yeah, I think the one change I'd protect. Porro and Spence is the one that I would have question marks on. And the reason why, I think Spence defensively is better, and I think we may need him defensively. I think Porro, again, going forward, is the better player, but it depends how attacking we're going to be. So if we're going to look to be a bit more defensive, a bit more assured, I'd look at putting Spence right back. I'd potentially look at Sarr over Kulusevski, just in with Bentancur and Basuma. And then I'd probably say Johnson. And I probably would go Richarlison as well. I think he's got, in those kind of games, I think he's got a bit of metal about him. I think he likes to put himself about. I think he'll add that experience. He works hard. I think we just got to go for a hard-working side that can put themselves about a bit and make it difficult for Bodo on the night. So that's probably what I would look at.
In terms of the Spence Porro situation or question, I think that what Porro brings you as well with his passing from deep, that he can just pop one over the top to get us in behind, and Bodo will probably playing a high line, right? The only problem is that we're not going to have Maddison to make those runs that Porro likes to find him with. But Jay, like, are you in agreement? You know, pretty much a similar team, maybe Kulusevski instead of Maddison, or would you put a Sarr there? I mean, I would hate to see that midfield three of Sarr, Bentancur, Basuma. I think we have kind of seen similar at the likes of Liverpool, and it just hasn't gone well by any stretch of the imagination. But where are you at with it, Jay?
Yeah, see, obviously for me at the moment, we know Solanke's not running at 100%. Putting him onto a 4G pitch when he's got hip problems and a leg problem, is that going to be smart? I don't think he starts up top. I think we go Richie up top, which then comes to who does go on the left. I think Tell should. Tell's done bits. He's not exactly been amazing. You couldn't pick any of them players out and say they've been amazing in every game. So I'd agree with that. With the 10, I think we do need a creative player, somebody that is going to try and run. And with Sarr, for me, I prefer him as a player that comes off the bench when he's running against, not tired legs, but he can get about, he can hustle a bit, he can really mix up in the middle. So it's a tough one for me. But as for the defence, I think Porro, last time we watched him on an Astro, he had arguably his worst game in a Spurs shirt. He got torn about by a guy that works in Zara. So for me, Spence, I'm definitely putting Spence at right back, and other than that, you can't really disagree, although Danso has looked solid when he has played, admittedly. And as for the Mikey Moore call, the issue is these 17 and 18-year-olds, although they're inexperienced, one, he seems to have a bit of confidence about him, but two, they've actually got a bit of... they're used to playing on artificial pitches due to the levels of where they've been. So a lot of the academies nowadays are artificial. The Spurs training grounds ones that the academy players train on is artificial. So, yeah, for me, I'd like to see him come off the bench. So, yeah, there's not too much I'll change from what God said, really.
No formation change for you?
No. I'd keep it as it is. I'd stick with a three up top. Johnson is the type of player that will do absolutely nothing but score probably one of the most important games in recent years for us. So I'm on his back too much. And for me, it's just getting behind the boys and supporting them.
There's a bit of a narrative forming within mainly the Arsenal fan base and some media saying Europa League winners shouldn't be getting Champions League football. I've seen Arsene Wenger pipe up with it a couple of days ago with Keys and Gray. And I've never, ever heard this narrative ever since, only because Spurs are in a semi-final of a European competition and they're looking like they could be going out in the Champions League this week. And I think they're just shitting themselves that Spurs could win a trophy this year and Arteta will be 5 years without one. I mean, what's your take on that, guys? I mean, is it a bit of nonsense for you?
Yeah, I think so. Like, look, the Europa League, I know they talk about it. It's changed its format slightly, and the Champions League teams can't drop into it, which I think actually is right. I think that's the correct way to do it. I think while you're knocked out of competition, should you go into another one? You know, to win this competition isn't easy. I think a lot of people are kind of like saying, "Oh, the quality's not there," but there's teams like Lazio, Frankfurt, Man United. I know they've not had a great season, but they're still, you know, one of the biggest teams in the world. You know. Bilbao, they're not a bad side. I think they're fourth in the Liga. Yeah. There's some teams in there. Roma, they got knocked out. You know, this isn't a poor standard Europa League. I think this narrative that there's no good sides in there. I mean, it's just it's rubbish as far as I'm concerned. And to win that to win any competition isn't easy, but to win that competition it's tough, and there should be an incentive. I know there's people saying you should play in it again. But if you've won it, why not be able to go up into the next stage of competition, which is the Champions League? I think it's a good thing personally. I think it's like the conference as well. If you win that, you go into the Europa League. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's the right way to do it. You're the winners of that competition, so why not be put up into the higher competition? So I say ever since Tottenham and Man United potentially might be getting to a final, this conversation has randomly come out. I'm pretty sure if it was Bilbao and Bodo Glimt, then nobody would bat an eyelid and it would just be as you were.
Wenger said winning the Europa League should only qualify you for the Europa League.
It's ridiculous.
It's not like it's like saying Leeds should only qualify to go back to the Championship.
I didn't hear all this when Chelsea played Arsenal in the Europa League final.
No.
We were in the Champions League final. No one said it then.
No, it was all completely ignored, and just like you say, as you were, it just seems to be there's a narrative. I think Anne just mentioned it a few times actually. I think he's right. That's one thing I do back him with is when it comes to Spurs, we seem to get attacked quite a lot, and there's not many people that will stick up for us as a club in the media. Even I think like Matt Law, who are quite I like Matt, but he does come out with like the Nottingham Forest shout and said, if Spurs getting all money and Forest don't, it's a travesty and things like that. And I just think. It's utter rubbish. You're winning a European competition amongst other big European clubs. There should be a reward for it, and for it to be the Champions League, absolutely. Why not?
They always try and stop us from getting that Champions League spot. You remember back in when we lost, we finished top 4, but Chelsea won the Champions League. We missed out last season.
They changed the laws the year after.
They literally changed the laws the year after. Last season, we finished 5th and didn't get it. Yet this season, 5th does get it. They're always trying to change things so that we don't get that Champions League spot. Now they're saying, Europa League shouldn't be a Champions League spot because Tottenham might win it. That's what I feel like at the moment.
And you know what, lads? That's hence what Ange says as well. Ange has been vocal about that quite a lot in his press conferences to say about a lot of the media and so forth and other football figures tend to get on Tottenham, maybe because we're an easy target. But it does seem to be like there's a narrative around us when something looks to be positive, people try and shoot it down a bit. So no, I'm all for us for the competition, the winners to go into Champions League. I think that's a great prize for the winner, and I'm all for it. Should never change.
Why
chance.
does 5th place deserve Champions League more than Europa League winner? No one has a problem with 5th place getting it.
No, it
doesn't.
But all of a sudden, you're winning a whole competition, a whole tournament, and getting a trophy that's less worthy. Apparently,
only when Tottenham are in the final. That's it. Only when Tottenham. If it was flipped around and Arsenal were in the final now, and it was the first year of this new format of this Europa League, everyone would be like, Arsenal, what a team, winning the Europa League, and what they've had to suffer through such hardships this season. You know what I mean? It would completely spin the whole narrative.
Winning a trophy Arsenal have never won in their history, and that's not worthy of a Champions League spot. But what do you reckon, Jay? Is there any kind of something to it? What they're saying?
And there's nothing to it. It's been like it for 12 years. There's never been a complaint, and all of a sudden now it's United and Tottenham who historically are having bad seasons. Both of us, if you want to get technical, we're the part of the Big Six. So this is a freak season for us to be where we are. To say, just because you've won the European trophy, you don't deserve to go up into the next. It's just a bit of a myth. Obviously, United, there is the fair case. They had a poor league finish and they got into the Europa League through winning the FA Cup last season, I think it was. But to sit there and say, if you win a European major trophy, you don't deserve to go up to the next level, it's a bit bewildering and baffling, because when West Ham won the Conference League, there was no callback for them not to go into the Europa League.
Yeah.
So it's just one of these things. It's because it's Tottenham, there seems to be this uproar. So ultimately, do you know what? It's going to make it, if we do win it, and touch wood we do, it's going to make it 10 times better seeing all the sour grapes being eaten all over Twitter.
Absolutely. Just finish off this segment. I'm going to ask you both for score predictions for Thursday. Guards?
1-0.
1-0. I'll take it right now. I'll take a 2-1 loss right now, to be fair.
Yeah.
Jay?
I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to go 2-2. But it's just hopefully they don't score early on. If they score early on, then I think my confidence will go a bit.
Sim?
I'm going to go 2-1 Bodo.
Yeah, I'm feeling that as well, to be fair.
2-0 down. 90th minute, Brennan Johnson tapping into back post.
Yeah, I'm liking that. And I'll take it all on. The most glorious 2-1 loss of all time.
Absolutely.
I got a message for you guys. I've just had a text from Marlon, and he says, "Tell guards, I take it I won't see you on the school run today then."
Yes, love Marlon. Good guy. Yeah, our daughters go to the same school, so
I see.
No, he won't be seeing me today. Maybe tomorrow.
Let's talk about the Palace game then, because big plans ahead. Third protest change for Tottenham. I've been on the previous two, and unbelievable work, and the sheer numbers that you've gathered there, I think, is unbelievable, to be honest. I've seen there's been a bit of a statement and an update today regarding plans for Palace. So Jay, do you want to talk us through them?
Yeah, so obviously the one thing I think there's been a bit of misconception of how the tweets got out. So what we were basically advocating to do was to basically just hold back for the first 5 minutes, go back to your seats after, not leave the stadium empty and not support the players. Obviously, we understand that we need to be supporting these players. Every protest, as you can tell, we have always made it very, very clear, regardless of what we do prior to the game, if it's a march, if it's a demonstration, we always support the players. We always call for fans to support the players and the manager. Not everybody is going to like the manager, but at the end of the day, this guy has got us into the semi-final. So all of us, whether we're fans of him directly or not, we'll support the players on the team. So the main thing for us was basically at halftime, there is a memoriam to Spurs fans that have sadly passed over the years. So we've asked everybody to respect that. And then how we were planning in our heads, and we're listening to the feedback if people aren't too keen on it. As we said, we're fan-led. We're not here to be, oh, we're doing this and this is how it has to be. We want to listen to everybody's opinion. So all it was basically hold back for the first 5 minutes of the second half as basically like a standout. Return to your seats. Nobody's forced to leave the game and leave the stands empty and not support the club. Obviously, a lot of people pay their hard-earned money to go and support the players. But yeah, so for us, it's just making sure we're going to have a demonstration before. You don't have to attend the sit-out protest at halftime, but if you do, then we will be there. If you don't, then as we've always said, this is people's choices. So we just want to make sure that, one, we're not annoying people and upsetting people, because we're not set out to be this aggregate group that will sit there to basically stir the pot. We're supporters of Spurs. We fully understand the final is in 10 days, but just to make everybody aware, this was pre-planned well before even the semi-final. We've spoken about this for months. So this isn't just something we thought, oh, it's a Tuesday morning, let's throw this out there and stir it up. But yeah, guards, anything for you to add?
Again, obviously to jump onto that, I think it's 10 minutes, Jay, that we're asking for the fans to stay behind. And again, it is all opinionated. And I think at the same time, we are a group of fans that are just trying to make change for our club. I know, Ben, you said you've been on the last two, which is great. I'd like to say that they've been respectful. There's not been any kind of unwanted chants and things like that, and aggression, which is something that we are completely against. When it comes to the half-time stand in the concourse area, we've basically put options on what fans want to do. It's not about us saying a walkout at all. So if you wanted to do that and go and support local businesses, the pubs, we wanted to do it early, by all accounts, please do that. If you want to come out and just be, the aim is to sing Levy out for 10 minutes inside the concourse and then return to your seat, then please do. Or you can stay in the concourse to the second half. It's entirely up to you. But we think that obviously trying to change the narrative away from, obviously we are marching. We've done that for the last two times, but we want Levy and the board to see inside the stadium that fans aren't happy. Outside is great, and it's small steps to get us to where we are. We understand that fans might not agree with it, and that is completely understandable. And we're not asking anybody who doesn't agree to do so, but we merely are. For us, I think the majority of us will be staying in the concourse area for the second half, maybe for 10 minutes, and then returning to our seats. So it's just a small demonstration to show the dissatisfaction that we've got towards the board. This isn't towards the manager or the players. And I know maybe timing where people will look at it and go, "Oh, we're in a European semi-final on Thursday," which is fantastic, and all our support will be aimed towards that. But let's say, for example, and I don't want to be that guy that does this, but let's say we get knocked out on Thursday. Then then I'm telling you now, there'll be uproar amongst the fan base, and they'll be asking us to do more. And what's the plan? So I get
kick off walkout.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be let's do walk, and I get it. But if we get through, then you'll get the fans saying we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that. So what we're trying to do is try and find a happy medium. Happy medium is let's just show 10 minutes. We're not asking you to leave, but if you want to, you can. But in that 10 minutes, let's get behind. Let's get a group of fans. If we can get thousands, great. To be singing about our chairman, who we feel hasn't done as much as he could have. And again, we're getting the same narrative push from him for the summer. Sell before you buy. The funds aren't there. You know, it's the same thing we're hearing at White Hart Lane. You know, this game-changing stadium, we're yet to see many changes, in my opinion. And I'm not fooled by the expenditure because, one, it hasn't been spent great, but two, the wages ratio is where you see the success. And I think, like you say, when people do turn around and say, "Oh, we spent the money," yes, but it's got to fit within a certain wage structure, which is something that we were told we wouldn't need to be doing when we moved to this stadium. I think that's the biggest gripe as well, one of the biggest gripes as well. So, yeah, the narrative is to push 10 minutes after kickoff. Please stay outside of your seat for as long as you can and return if you want to. And if you don't, please stay in the concourse where most of us will be.
If that is the aim of the if that is what you're calling for, I would suggest probably altering or changing the statement that you've made, just because it's pretty unclear. I think because we were reading it and we thought you meant walk out at half time, walk out the stadium. It doesn't, because I'm just looking at it now. It doesn't say anywhere about returning 10 minutes later.
Oh, okay. So we're working.
Yeah,
we are working on getting something out. Obviously, a lot of us, most of us are at work. It went out this morning. So we will get something out to clarify that. We understand it's upset a lot of people. As we've said, we're not here to do that. None of us are making off of these protests or anything like this. All we're trying to do is push the message that we want what's best for the club. And this is why we say to all fans at all times, if you've got constructive ideas that we can use or implement or try and piece together, then that's what we will do. So we do understand frustrations. We have looked it over. We're listening to everything people are saying. We understand people aren't happy with the wording of it. We will get something out today, and obviously we will clarify it.
Okay, that's great.
In terms of what you were saying before, guys, with the wages expenditure and in terms of the spend, in terms of what we're spending on particular players, 65 million on Solanke, 60 million or 65 on Richarlison, right? It just says it all when a certain club can spend maybe 50, 55 million on a Kavisha Kvaratskhelia, and we're spending more than that or equal to that on a Brennan Johnson or a Solanke. You know, it all does come down to those wages, and if you're not gonna push the boat out, which we were told we were gonna do once moving into the stadium, we've been here for a good 6 years now, and on top of that, when you hear and see Levy's statement a couple of weeks ago saying we need to sell to buy, and when you look at the financial numbers, it actually does say that, you know, we don't have enough money available to go and spend on the players that we need to kick on. I mean, that should just tell you in itself, right, that this board cannot take the club onto the next level. Well, you know, how much further can this board take this club? Like, it's end of the road, surely.
Absolutely. And again, you make some great points there, Ben, because I think it's overlooked sometimes because people think, oh, we've spent the money, but actually have a look a bit deeper into it and see where it's spent. And I think that a perfect example I could probably make this season is Nico Williams, let's say from Bilbao. Now he'll be available for about 55 million, I think, or 55, 57 million. Now we could afford that to pay that, but we won't pay his wages, so we won't sign him. And that is, but again, you mentioned Brennan Johnson. Probably wants 70 grand a week, fits within that narrative. And the thing with which people seem to forget, when you're buying a player, you can offset the transfer fees, you can't offset wages. So that's where the big money comes into spending and so forth. That's where it's kind of built up. We're not asking to go and spend. I mean, you know, Arsenal, I always liken Declan Rice. They went and spent 105 million. Don't get me wrong, he'll be on big wages. But I'm not saying we should go out and sign 120 million pound players, but I do think we should be in the markets we should have been in the markets for like a Nico Williams and a Kvaratskhelia from Napoli. I don't see why we wouldn't be in those markets, but we've gone and bought, you know, Tell, who potentially, there's potential there, I think. Slowly but surely we're starting to see a bit more from him. And again, I think 50 million they're talking about, but again, his salary's not going to be anywhere near top players. And again, what will happen, I think we all know, he'll get to a stage where he might outgrow Spurs. We'll try and offer him a wage increase. He won't be interested because we won't be doing anything under this ownership. And he'll eventually be sold for profit and we start again. And that's what we've seen over these 24 years. And it's frustrating to keep going over it. And I don't, but this isn't anything personal to Daniel Levy. I don't know him, but again, I think the question is always been asked: how many times would Daniel Levy have sacked Daniel Levy? And I think that's a good question, because I think it'd have been plenty of times over to where we are and what's been happening. And like you say, the lies that kind of feel like have been spun with regards to the stadium, we've not seen it in what we're nearly 7 years in.
There's a question I wanted to ask, or both of you, but I want to ask Jace about last week on Thursday during the Bodo game. We're 3-0 up in the game. Solanke has scored, and the South Stand breaks out into "We want Levy out" chants during the game. I want to know how you felt about that. Did you personally feel like that was that something like, even, was it a message sending to Levy, like, even at 3-0 up in a European semi-final, this is still a very clear message? Or did you feel like, maybe, is this the right time, we should be supporting the team? Is it a bit of a distraction when we're in the middle of a European semi-final?
It's one of these things. Obviously, every fan's entitled to feel their own way. For me, of course, I'm not a fan of Levy. I agreed with it. The issue is, if you're talking it's 2-2 or 1-1 or even maybe a 1-0, then yeah, the timing could be off. But at 3-0, it should be a loud enough message to him that we're not happy, regardless that we're here. We want to be competing for this every single season. We feel we're a club that should have the grounds to go on and try and challenge for these things, have these deep cup runs. So, I mean, I remember back to the Southampton game away this year. I think we were 4-0 up, and that is the loudest I've ever heard it. It is a message that we know he don't like. So some fans will feel a certain way that it shouldn't be sung. It's a European semi-final, supporting the players. But the one thing that fans are doing is supporting these players, and there's many a time through this season that the players haven't given the fans anything to support, and we will still be there every game. It's the first time in a long time I've been at that Tottenham Stadium, and it's actually felt like everybody in that ground was connected, whether you're Levy in, Levy out, whether you're sitting on the fence for how the club's doing. Everybody come together. I mean, pre-match, you guys would have seen it. It was absolutely buzzing in there through the whole game. It was absolutely buzzing. And then, unfortunately, we got a bit deflated in the 84th minute when they scored. But the main thing for me is I just want something to be happy about with this football club. It feels like a long time since I've had a strong connection. On Thursday was the first time I got a taste of having that connection back. So the Levy chants didn't put a sour taste in my mouth, but I understand for some people it may have.
Yeah, and maybe those chants as well gives us a bit of hope for the future that this can carry on, because obviously it's got a lot bigger this season, the Levy out movement, because of how bad we've been doing this season, sitting, in the wrong end of the table and all that, and it's just like dire football week in, week out. But there's always been that kind of thinking, like, if Spurs were to do well, then it would die out a little bit. But 3-0 up in a semi-final, it can't go much better than that, and you're hearing those chants just after that third goal. So if, let's say, we do go and win the trophy, we have to still kick on next season and keep that same message the same.
Yeah, 100%. I think Dan's already touched on it. The issue is we've had 24 years of pure lies. We've had so many broken promises over the years. Oh, we're doing this to compete, we're doing that to compete. At the moment, our wage expenditure, as you guys have already spoken about, is the lowest in Europe's one of the lowest, or in Europe's top 4 leagues. There's a reason why we don't compete. Why every time we have a big player, we have a Romero, we have a Harry Kane, we have a Christian Eriksen, we have a Kyle Walker, they want to leave because, one, the mindset doesn't seem to be, and it hasn't been, that we've been a team that are there to win. It's a team we're there to compete, and we're happy competing. So yeah, I mean, as I said, I'd give absolutely anything in the world to lift this trophy. But ultimately, next year, the movement has to keep going until, do you know what, change does happen. And as we've stated, for us, change is Daniel Levy going. That's not everybody's change. Change is a change of how we perform as a footballing side, or how we pay our players, how we're competing. So, as I've said, change can come in many, many aspects. It's just, obviously, we want to find the right balance between the happy medium and keeping everybody happy.
Yeah, and going back to the last protest, I mean, the club are definitely keeping a close eye on it, because the first time we went, when we marched towards the West Stand, there wasn't really much there, and I think we saw Donna Cullen like scurry in at one point, and then the second time, there was big barriers there in front of the West Stand, weren't they? It was like they were waiting for us, and I think they did us a favour, to be honest, at one point, because we were able to drape the banners over the over the barriers. Do you think they've got some more plans for us on the Crystal Palace game?
I mean, it's one of these things. So obviously, I'm one of the guys who speaks to the club often enough. They give a reasoning behind that. So whether or not it was a genuine reasoning, it was to just make sure people who didn't want to protest could be involved. But I don't quite understand why they were putting blockades in the middle of the road outside, for example, the corner pin and bits like that. So yeah, I mean, we're fully aware the club do watch a lot of what all of us individually post on social media and what we put out as obviously a team at CFT. So yeah, it's one of these things. If they're going to put something in, they're going to put something in. We just got to try and find a way around it.
Yeah. So you're saying the message of change for Spurs is even because I think a lot of fans will, I guess, be listening and watching and thinking if we do win that Europa League, that would technically be the best trophy in our lifetime. A lot of Tottenham fans' lifetimes, our first major European trophy in 40 years, and that would have been brought to us by the hierarchy that are currently at this football club if it does happen. So how do you kind of in your mind, how do you combat that, and kind of what would you say to someone, saying why would you want someone who's brought your best moment in as probably, I mean, I don't know how old you are, Jake, but I'm assuming it's probably the biggest trophy in your lifetime. How do you
Jay was there on the terraces in 1984.
But so how do you kind of coincide that with you want this guy out the football club if it was to happen?
The thing is obviously, as you've said, it would probably be the biggest Tottenham moment in my whole lifetime. It would eclipse the Carling Cup. The issue is the fact that we're celebrating one trophy in 28 years. You go and look at teams like your Manchester Uniteds, your Liverpools, your Manchester Cities, your Chelseas even. If you ask them, is this the biggest trophy? Some of them will just go, it's a tiny trophy for us. Obviously, for us, any silverware is acceptable. We want to be competing on them levels. We've been at the top of the tree without winning anything. So we've had the taste for it. We've just never actually had the chance to take it for ourselves. So, but this is what I mean. That could stem change. Come summer, we win Europa League. We all of a sudden get a bit of claret behind us, and all of a sudden everybody's going, okay, maybe this is a team that can win. But I don't know if you feel any differently on it, Dan.
It's a great question, because I think that and again, absolutely praying we can lift that Europa League, and it's definitely not a small trophy, because obviously the winner gets Champions League and it's a European Cup, so it's a huge trophy and would be the biggest I've seen in my lifetime as well. So I've seen us lift a couple of League Cups, but nothing of note. But what I would say is, when it comes to change for Tottenham, and if we were to win Europa League, I would look at the Champions League final. Now, we're level with Liverpool. We're on par with them, right? And I don't believe, and again, but this is just my thought process, had we have won that trophy, would we have done anything different? Probably not. And I think that is where it comes down to. So we could win the Europa League, and yes, it will be amazing. And I'll be singing from the rooftops and, be there in Bilbao. And, when the club decide to do a march down the high roads with the trophy, if it was to happen, we'll all be there. But it's what we do after that. And history tells us not a lot. And I think that's where the worry. So, these fine moments is where you kick on. And that's something that this club's never done. We don't kick on. We get to a stage where things seem to be like, oh, we're there. And then, no, we won't do that. Maybe I don't understand. I honestly don't understand it. I think you can go back to as far as Redknapp. I think when we signed, I know the Nelson Saha transfer saga, and he wanted Tevez and Cahill. I think we're third in the league.
Even before that, we sold Robbie Keane, we sold Berbatov, we brought in Fraser Campbell and Pavlyuchenko.
Yeah, I think again, it's a good point. The Berbatov one, we go all the way back to that. Sold him last day of the window and get Fraser Campbell. It just seems to be like this has always been a continuation with Tottenham under this ownership, and I feel like this European trophy would be amazing for the fans more than anything. The fans need this more than anybody in the football club, not the club, the fans, and they deserve it. It's just whether or not this club will decide to say, actually, I want more of this, or can we continue down the route we're going to try and get one trophy every 15, 16 years, which is what seems to be the way this club's being run.
If we do win that trophy, obviously you guys, you was talking about, it's all about we haven't really kicked on in Champions League final, we never kicked on and things like that. But if we did win that trophy in the summer, would it be a case of waiting to see what happens in the summer, or would it just be a case of regardless what happens, we're going to be protesting again?
Again, great question, because I think a lot of people have asked the same thing. Again, we get asked questions about Ange. Would you be Ange in or Ange out if he's win? And I had a debate with a couple of friends at the Bodo game, and one was like adamant that you can't get rid of a manager that's won a European trophy, biggest trophy we've won in 30 odd years, because that's what we've all been asking for as fans. And I understand exactly what you're saying. And then on the other hand, you've got other people saying, well, look at the performances, and it is a concern. For me, we would have to see a big change for it to stop, and that change would have to be competing in the market, building a side that's able to compete with what we were told, and to see that change. And I just don't see it. I don't know if anybody else is different. And if we don't see that, the protests will continue. And I'm talking about big signings. I'm not talking about just getting in like the Archie Graves and the Bergvaus and hoping they work out, although they've been great signings. We need to see more as a fan base. And again, I'll reiterate it. I'm not here asking for £150 million signings. I'm asking us to compete with top level players that are achievable, are gettable. And again, I'll bring up Nico Williams. People might laugh and go, oh no, but if you win the Europa League, you've won a trophy and you're in Champions League, he's the exact player we should be looking at. Like to go, oh, when was the last time, as Spurs fans, you went, oh, can't believe we signed him? For me, it's Van der Vaart.
Probably
that's the last time I asked him.
Yeah.
And that was the last, and we signed him for £8 million. £8 million. And he was a massive boost to the club, and he was a tremendous footballer for us. We probably paid high wages, but that's what you get. You get winners, you get top players. And we haven't done that for a long time. And don't get me wrong, it's not being detrimental to players like Solanke and Tell and Bergvall and Gray that we've signed, but they don't set the world alight when, with the signs. I think even for the players, if you imagine if you was like, oh, Tottenham has signed Nico Williams, even at the time like Paulo Dybala, and then we got linked to Aguero. Imagine one of those coming in to our club. It'd give the whole club a boost, and I think that's what we've been missing for a long time. I mean, even the days in Klinsmann, look at that, signing a player like him out of the blue. But we now at a stage where we're told we should be able to get these players, and we're not. And if we don't see that change in the summer, which I highly doubt, then we will continue.
Even players like Edgar Davids. I mean, I know he was at the end of his career at that point, but do you remember how buzzing we were when we signed Edgar Davids?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was good for us as well.
Yeah,
Edgar
he was
Davids.
decent.
Makes a huge difference to a club.
Go on. Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And I totally agree. I mean, we need to make statement signings. We've got the youth now. We've got the future. We just need for the here and the now to really kick us on to the next level. I totally agree. And it does all come down to the wage expenditure, because we are signing. We do have we've spent enough on transfers. There's no two ways about it. Even you look back to the Ndombele days. Ndombele at that time was a statement signing. It just didn't work out, the way we want to with Lo Celso and Sessegnon. But look, we're going to leave it there. But I just want to let the people know who are watching this and who will watch this in the future, where do they need to be if you want to take part in the protest?
Yeah, so obviously it's up by Lordship Lane, outside the Sports Direct. We're starting at 1, marching down to the stadium. As we said, once you get in the ground, we call for everybody to support the team. That's the main thing, supporting the players. You've got to remember, we're not protesting against these players. We're not protesting against the manager. This is purely against the ownership, that we're not happy with how things are. If you wish to protest for the 10 minutes at the start of the second half, that we call for you to do that. We don't want anybody to do it if they're not comfortable. The main thing is we're here just to say we're not happy with how things are. And then, yes, continue supporting the team. And obviously the main thing for me is come Thursday, if we are in a semi-final, if we are in the final, then we may have to relook and adjust and sort of go with it. Last thing we want to do is upset people and say we're not supporting the players, because 100% as a protest team, we are certainly 100% wanting to win everything. So yeah, I don't know if you've got anything else to add to that, Dan. Sorry, my voice is going.
No, it's fine. Yeah, again, thanks guys for having us on. It's much appreciated. Obviously, my first time, I ever really enjoyed it. Great channel.
Thanks, guys.
I would say for me, again, people might say I'm naive, but I fully believe that the club are noticing what we're doing, right?
Sure.
And I would say that as in Vinay, Paratici potentially coming back, and there's talks of the whole backroom staff being completely changed. I mean, and again, I know there's only talks at the moment, but I think the club have realised actually there's a very, very small. They've not got nowhere else to go, and I think that we're growing for the right reasons. Yes, we will still have fans that don't agree, and I fully respect those fans. I've got no problem with them whatsoever, and people that want to join us, great, because I fully believe that our club deserves to be higher than where it is. I fully believe that our club should be winning more than what it is, and I feel that we should compete in a lot more than what we are as well. And it's been a long time coming for our club. With regards to this movement, because I feel that Daniel Levy and Enoch have got away with a lot. And we've been really patient. There's no way people can turn around and say, "Oh, you've got this new stadium. Oh, look what we've got. Oh, you're not in debt and so forth, or you've not got these financial issues and so forth." But ultimately, it's 24 years, and as a club, we've been so patient as fans, and we've accepted things along the way as well. I think even at Wembley, even though it was difficult, we accepted 18 months without signing. We accepted where we were for 24 months because we were told once we get to the stadium, we would then be able to parachute onto another level. That's what we were told. We're not making that up. And I think that if you, as Spurs fans, believe that, please march with us on Sunday and again, be respectful. We're not here to for unnecessary chance or aggression. Children and so forth, welcome and things like that. But it's all about making the ownership realise that we're not going to be going away, but we're going to do it respectfully. We'll have a drummer on the day. We've also got a megaphone for people for a chance to be kind of creative, to make it a bit more regimented as well. And then the half-time one, like I say, if you can join in, then please do. But it's not. We're not. It's nothing that you're going to be forced into doing.
Yeah. And I think what Thursday against Bodo proved as well is just like with the atmosphere that it was. This fan base is really desperate, isn't it, to have moments like that that we can get behind the team and have an atmosphere like we had on Thursday. I think this fan base is basically desperate for things to get behind, and all this board have to do is provide more moments to get behind, and then we'll have more moments like we will on Thursday. And I think Thursday showed what potential that stadium has, and we just need to get this board to do the right thing so we can have more days like Thursday.
Well, the reality is, since moving into this stadium, it's been that game, the Ajax game, and the Arsenal game when we won 3-0. That's the only 3 games I can remember where it's been like, wow, we're doing something special here. That's it. So,
yeah, and again, you guys make great points, I think, about, again, the stadium and moments. It's been moments, hasn't it? And I think sometimes I struggle to understand, the Bodo game, because, again, the fans our fan base is amazing. And I know a lot of people go, you're negative and things like that. Sometimes it's very hard to be positive when things aren't going right. And this season's been abysmal. And I feel like that, you go onto Twitter and you see fans arguing amongst themselves and you're thinking, God, I get his point, but also get his point as well. It's very difficult to try and find that happy medium. But I can't understand why the club wouldn't look at Thursday and think, I want more of this. This is a club that's desperate and crying out just to compete. I mean, we want success, absolutely, but we're not, we're not arrogant enough to say that, we should be getting it. But to compete and know that we're up there to do something is all we're asking for as a fan base, to pay the money we're paying in that stadium. And I feel that they're missing a trick sometimes, because, again, they priced the game really well. That was what was a real plus. They obviously set up the TIFO, which was brilliant. So these are positives that, if the club can work with the fans and create that sort of atmosphere and create those moments a lot more, that's the change that we're all looking for, as well as competing on the football side. So, let's see more of it. But if we're not going to see that, then we will continue what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Really big pleasure having you guys on today. Like I said, I'll be there against Crystal Palace, 1 p.m. at the crossover between Lordship Lane and the High Road, where you can march down to the stadium and make your voices heard. But Jay, Guards, brilliant work that you guys have been doing along with the rest of the team on Change for Tottenham. Jay, do you want to let the people know where they can find you?
Yeah, X on OJCO, probably seen my rants and my head loss. It happens quite regularly. So I'd just like to say it differentiates from Change for Spurs. It's not their opinion, it's just me losing my head. But yeah, mainly if you do want protest updates, to go to the Change for Tottenham Facebook, Instagram, and X. It's all under Change for Tottenham. But yeah, as I said, many thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a pleasure, always is. And yeah, see you guys on the 11th.
And can they find you at the Coach and Horses as well? Or is that just the one?
And find me at the Coach and Horses before
I don't know what you're on about. I'm never in Coach and Horses. But yeah, no, I'll be in Coach and Horses pre-match and probably after again. So
that's right. Brilliant. Guards, where can they find you, mate?
At Guards44. I don't think I've got as many followers as Jay because I don't lose my head as much as him. So I'm a bit more like diplomatic. No, I'm joking. Yeah, pub-wise, I'm not sure you'll find me in the Coach and Horses too much. Every now and then, potentially, around that area. But Guards44. So yeah, if you want to see some tweets about Spurs, then you can find me there.
Brilliant. Well, once again, thank you guys for coming on. That is
Thanks,
it from us today. We'll see you all very soon. Let's hope for a big night Thursday night. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, Spurs.